Today, we're going to be talking about weed and inflammatory bowel disease. But more specifically than that, we're going to be talking about weed and ulcerative colitis. My name's Jacob, and I've been living with inflammatory bowel disease for 10 years. And over that time, I have experimented with weed. So this is what I'm going to be talking about today. Number one, what does it do? And then we're going to be talking about my personal experiences. Then I'm going to be going over, is it worth trying? And then down here, there is an alternative as well. And we're going to be covering all that in today's video. So first of all, what does it do? So how does it feel when you use weed? So let's call this the side effects. So there's quite a few side effects, and it can be very individual how it affects you. Side effects. So the first one is obviously a feeling of being high. But what does that even feel like? Well, it could be giggles. It could be increased appetite. There could be a feeling of more, I think it's called intraception. Intraception. So that's the feeling of the internal operations of your body. So you might feel where certain feelings are, like you might feel where certain pain is, you might feel your heart beating, you might feel your stomach moving. You have a greater awareness of interoception. That's one of your senses, the sense of your internal functions. Sense of internal functions. You might have strange thinking, like you might think random thoughts. You may have a reduced feeling of pain, but in another sense, it might increase your awareness of pain through the interoception. So it's a bit random, but you can feel a reduced level of pain. And just an overall, you might feel happy. Now, there are some other unwanted side effects, such as paranoia. Now, I'm not saying you're always going to feel this, it's just sometimes you may feel like this. And that's all I can think of right now. That's pretty much the gist of the side effects if you ingest the weed. And there's multiple ways of ingesting it. I'm not going to tell you that in this video. You can figure that out for yourself. This is pretty much how you're going to feel. There may be some other things that I'm missing here, but that's basically it. And the things most people are interested in when it comes to inflammatory bowel disease is the increased appetite and the reduced levels of pain. Let's just star these. This is mostly why I think most of you would be interested in even trying weed in the first place. Yes, you might enjoy the other things, but particularly reduced levels of pain and appetite, because that's really, really handy. Especially if you've been losing lots of weight, you might feel nauseous all the time. You might feel sick from your inflammatory bowel disease, making you feel awful. Having an increased appetite, that's a big win. This is a big win. Let's put a green arrow up. This is a big win. Reduced levels of pain. If you're sat there suffering with all this pain inside your gut, definitely worth it. Yes, these are huge bonuses, and that is why you might be drawn to using weed to help with your inflammatory bowel disease. Now, the rules on this are completely different depending on where you live. So you're going to have to look at your own country's laws around getting weed, and you can use it medicinally in certain countries. That's the general gist of it anyway. Let's go on to my experiences. So, I was a bit of a stoner from about the age of 17, I must admit. So, and that was way before I was ever diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease. So I was very aware of how it affected my body long before I was even experiencing troubles of the gut. Another thing I should have added to the list was it has this whole social thing around it. It's sort of like if you've ever been a smoker, you might go out for a smoke break, and it's like that nice time when you can socialise with your workmates, or maybe you're in college or whatever, you go out for a vape. It's very much a social experience, and that would be another one of it's not really a side effect of using it, but it's something that surrounds it. It's a whole social thing. Where's my good pen? Right, so my experiences. So for the longest time, it made me feel happy. It would help me ignore my problems. It would let me zone in or zone out my worries. But it became a habit. So I was probably using weed for, many years actually. I haven't used it, it hasn't been part of my life for 4 years now. Right, that 4 years. Except from a recent trip to Amsterdam, which is why I got the idea to talk about it in the first place. I took a recent trip to Amsterdam. I vaped a little bit, and I realised I just don't really like it anymore. So why is that? And I am going to stick to probably continuing not to use it. So it's been about 4 years since I was, let's call it a habitual user, almost on a daily basis. And over those 4 years, I've seen the difference that it's made to my life not using it. It's kind of a different topic, but I was a daily user. Let's talk about my experiences with it with IBD. So what did I notice? Other than these things, what did I notice with my IBD? Well, the first thing I did notice was reduced pain. And this zone out my worries. It was almost like I could ignore the IBD. Once I had got high, I was able to just not think about it for a little bit. But something was peculiar that I found quite often. I don't know if it's probably just because I was flaring, but I'd actually see an increase in blood in stool. Now, this could be just the fact that I'm noticing it more, because I was in and out of flares for a long time. But very often would be the case, I'd have a particularly late sesh and I'd go use the bathroom and I'd see an increase in blood in stool. This is very particular just to me. And that was one of the reasons why I began to really dislike using it, if I'm honest. I'd see this happen too frequently for my liking, that it felt like it was correlated. Now, I might have been just jumping to conclusions. I might have been imagining connections where there weren't connections. I might have just been flaring in general. But I did notice this more often than not, and it really felt like it was connected. And then the next day I'd have a day off from it, and then the blood would disappear again. And it was so confusing. I didn't know what was going on. I think in retrospect, there's no way it was causing me to flare. I believe that it was probably more likely I was just flaring anyway. And I just noticed it, and it happened to be a connection there. Because I was a habitual user, I was using it on a daily basis, you know, there's going to be days where I'm flaring, there's going to be days where I'm not flaring, but it just felt connected to me. And I used to get this growing sense of dread. So an increase over time of general fear and panic. So a general increase in time of anxiety. And this was a big thing for me. That increase in anxiety, that was one of the worst things for me, because I'd vape a little bit, suddenly feel my heart going. Suddenly I need the toilet. Suddenly I'm worrying about things, and I'm just wishing that I didn't inhale it, and I'm just waiting for it to wear off. This was probably through all my own training. I feel like I probably trained myself to be like this. And I'm not saying that you will experience this at all. One of the great things that you can do with weed is sort of dictate your experience with it. Go into it with set intentions. So let's talk about how you can avoid this happening, like I just mentioned. How can you stop an increase of anxiety over time? Well, I think that comes down to making it a more meditative experience. Wow, this is a messy whiteboard. Let's just clean this up. So let's talk a bit about setting your intention. So I think going into it with the idea of creating a set experience. Let's talk about it. Intentions. Because I believe that when you do use weed, it enhances the feelings and emotions that you're currently feeling. And if deep down you are anxious and you're worried, that will just come out as it comes into effect. So coming in with the intention that you're going to relax, coming in with the intention that it's going to heal you, coming in with the intention that it's going to make things better, calm you down. That's basically the same thing as relaxing, calming, healing. That's how you should go into using it, and using it as a medicine. Medicine, not something just to take because you want to take it for recreational use. I don't think you should use it in that way. Not recreational. Of course you can use it in that way. I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't, but I'm saying when it comes to IBD, you should treat it as a medicine. Go in with the intention that it's going to calm you down, reduce your nausea, relax you, increase your appetite, and help you eat some more food to regain some weight. Use it for how it's going to help you. Like, I don't just go around taking paracetamol on a daily basis for fun. I take paracetamol because I've got a headache. That's how use it as a medication, a medicine. And it's quite, it's a natural medicine. And there's lots of other benefits to it. Not going into the science of it, but it's absorbed all across your body. I don't know if it can help reduce inflammation, but it might help reduce inflammation. But that regardless, all that aside, if it can help you relax, that is huge. That is a huge, huge deal. Just being able to relax, even if it doesn't straight up just promote healing, if it can help you relax, that is massive, because so much of IBD is anxiety led. You've got these horrible symptoms. It's freaking you out. It's all in the unknown. You don't know how you're going to feel tomorrow. You don't know how you're going to feel in the next hour. Do you need an emergency toilet? Relax. It's okay. It is what it is. So go in with the intention that it's going to do that. And you might find that it will actually start doing that. And that's where I think my experiences were going wrong. I was using it with the intention, well, there was no intention. I was just using it. There was no reason for me to be using it. Without going into too much detail, it's almost like I was trapped in using it. People were coming around my house. We were working, surrounded by it. I couldn't escape it. I'd go through phases of being adamantly against it. Like they'd vape it in the room while we was working. I would abstain. Then I'd use it again. And overall, I began to just have this growing resentment for it. But I think it's a great tool with the right intentions. And the way that I see it now is I'd like to use it as a vessel to help me fight my anxiety. Because when I used it recently in Amsterdam, it took me straight to that place. You're anxious, your heart rate's elevated. you feel like you can't cope. And I overcame it. And it was okay. I overcame it. And suddenly I saw the city in a different way, and I started taking pictures. And I was really into it. And I was like, this is why I want to use it. My intention with it is to overcome my anxiety, because that is a useful tool. So it's a tool. It's a tool for learning to cope with things. It's a tool for helping you feel less nauseous. It's a tool for increasing your appetite and just making you feel happier. But set your intentions before you go into it. And you could even write them down. You could make a list, right? I want to feel relaxed. I want to feel calm. I'm going to do this. And it will happen. If you believe it, it will happen. It's very led by your mind. So, do I think it's worth trying? Well, I think if you can obtain it legally in your country, then I think it's worth giving it a go and seeing how you react. Have a go at setting your intentions going into it. Use it however you want. Don't go crazy. Don't use a large amount unless you feel up to the task. It is worth having a go, seeing if you like it or not. But I found for myself over the years, I've drifted away from it, and it's not something I really want to go back to, if I'm honest. I think my life is better off without it. Also, down here, I had talked about the alternative. What's the alternative? Well, you can get a product called CBD. What is CBD? So in weeds, there are two components to it. You have CBD and THC. THC is what gets you high. CBD is sort of the counter to it, can make you feel more relaxed. This has been used more as a medicine lately for things like epileptic seizures and those sort of things. THC still, well, in my country, is still, you can't get that on the street. So, but no, you can get it on the street. What I mean is it's still illegal to pick this up, but you can get it through a doctor's note in some circumstances. But CBD is widely available. You can get it from almost everywhere. It's sort of become a flavour of the week. They put it in everything. They put it in your soap. They put it in your shampoo. They put it in all this. And I think that's a bit silly. They put it in everything, but you can get it very easily. So what does CBD do? Well, it can calm you down. Calm you down. It can make you feel relaxed. It can, in some circumstances, reduce pain. It can make you sleep better. And it doesn't get you high. So if you want to experiment with just CBD without the feeling of the THC, you can get it. My experiences with it. I bought it online from the local business. Comes in this oil, you drop it on your tongue. And within a couple of minutes, you have this overwhelming sense of calm. That's what came over me. An overwhelming sense of calm. And I felt relaxed. It definitely made me sleep better. It kind of reduced my pain just a little bit. Not too much, but mostly an overwhelming sense of calm and better sleep. And my God, if it helps your sleep, it's worth doing. Anything that increases your sleep and makes you relax, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Because sleep, let's underline this a couple of times, sleep is fundamental to healing. Absolutely fundamental. And if CBD can enhance this, my God, it's worth trying. The only thing is it's expensive. It is expensive for what it is. So I can't say it's something that I would recommend to use regularly, unless you've got a lot of money. I don't use it now because I'm trying to save money, but I did go through a phase where I was using it on a daily basis, and there are some problems. So one of the problems is you get used to it, and then you have to ramp up the dose. Now, I haven't experienced any downside in ramping up my dose as it becomes less and less effective. I didn't experience any problem One of my friends said that they tried a lot of it and it knocked them out. But they hadn't built up the tolerance to it yet. But in most circumstances, it did help me. It is amazing, actually, how quickly the calming effect comes on. Within 2 minutes, you put the oil on your tongue and you let it sit underneath your tongue. Literally 2 minutes will go by. It's absorbed into your bloodstream. And it's just this amazing calmness. Suddenly I just felt like, oh, what a relief. The thing is, it passes quite quickly. But that feeling is very, very good. I did absolutely enjoy that. So I took it before bed. I would opt to take it just before I was going to bed because it seems like the best time. End of the day, you want to ensure that you get a good sleep. It's worth it. So that is my talk on weed, CBD, THC. Yes, it's been something that's been in my life for a long time. I've been surrounded by people who use it. So I've got a lot of experience using it, but I have a lot of bad experience using it because I've got quite a high level of anxiety in general. And if you do end up Googling this sort of information, you do tend to find more positive information about weed for Crohn's disease rather than ulcerative colitis. But do know that it can help, as I mentioned earlier, with the feeling of just being able to ignore what's going on with you. It's almost like a coping mechanism, really. You retreat from how you're feeling and use the weed to be able to not experience this anymore. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I may have painted a bit of a bleak picture with weed because I've had quite a negative time with it. I mean, I've had lots of positives as well. But overall, it just became a bad experience. I'm just going to draw this out because why not? We have enjoyment here. Can I write this sideways? This is a test for me. We have enjoyment and we have time used. So I started off here. I thought it was amazing. And let's say that this was when I was 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and so on. My God, I'm old now. I can't. So anyway, I really enjoyed it here. I thought it was great. It's a very social thing. And then it just starts to go down. I get more anxious, more anxious, more anxious. And then it sort of flattens off here. And there might be the odd spike. It might be here, it spiked up here for one day and then went straight back down. But overall, it trended down. I had a trend of... It was trending down this way. Because it just filled me with anxiety. Anxiety up. There's a terribly drawn arrow. And I'm just one of those people that's quite prone to anxiety. And I really found that over the years, it just really, really enhanced it. But those first times, before I had sort of learned that you can feel like this way, it didn't do it at all. The thing is, if I went back in time and smoked the amount that I used to then, I would be floored. But it's when you experience the anxiety, it almost opens it up to your mind that, oh my God, this is possible. And just while we're here, I'll talk about when this happened, because I clearly remember this. When did this drop start to happen? Well, it was when I played a game called Dead Space. This is really silly. It might even be a more sharp drop than this, you know. When I played Dead Space, this happened. So, what happened? Well, I was smoking a joint at home like I usually do. It was late at night, or like I usually did, and I rolled this big joint, smoked it all while I was playing Dead Space, and there was this level. So Dead Space is a horror game, and in the horror game there is these aliens, and there was this part of the game where there's this alien that you can't kill, and you need to lure it over to like this big spaceship, and you use the spaceship's engine to burn it, and that's how you kill it. I believe that's what happened anyway. And it's this intense segment. It probably lasted like 10 minutes in total. So I just finished this joint, and then this segment of the game starts, and I was not prepared for this. And I go through the segment. It's one of the most intense experiences of my life. And once I got through that segment, my heart was racing. And the segment's now over. My heart is beating really fast. But then my heart doesn't slow down. And I realise I have no control over what's going on inside of me. I'm not calming down. And then I begin to panic. And I run downstairs. So I lived upstairs. I run downstairs. I open the back door. And I'm at the back door trying to get oxygen. I'm like, I need air. I need to calm down. And then I'm lying on the floor. I go really lightheaded. I'm lying on the floor. And I'm just lying there in total disarray and complete panic. And over time, it washes over me. I calm down. I go back upstairs. And I don't have another joint that night. And then suddenly, panic has now opened up to me. Suddenly, anxiety is something that can happen when I smoke a joint. And it's that one negative experience. It almost like it caused a mental trauma inside of me. And that trauma would be relived every time that I smoked a joint. So maybe I smoked a joint here. Suddenly, it's down like that. That's exactly what happened. It would just make me relive that. In fact, it would have been more often than that. It probably would have been the next night. But over time, it just, through experiencing this on and off, over and over again, I began to really resent weed, I was like, I don't like it. It makes me feel this way. And it's because I put off dealing with my anxiety. And why do I even bring this up? Why am I even telling you this? Well, if you're someone who's had a bad experience in the past with weed and you're thinking about using it for your ulcerative colitis, or you're going into it as a fresh-faced fellow who wants to try it out for the first time, just know, like I said, set your intentions well. Go into it with a fresh a mind, knowing that it's going to work as medicine. And if you have had a bad experience in the past, it can take you to those bad places. And the best thing that you can do is deal with it and learn to overcome it. And that's where I'm at now. All the way over here at 31, about to turn 32, I would say it's risen a bit as I've become sort of fond of the nostalgia of the past. But the fact that when I tried it a week ago in Amsterdam, and it was the first time I tried it in 4 years, I felt this. I felt it. Here. That's right, panic. I felt the panic and the fear. I was walking down the street, it kicked in, and I thought to myself, I'm going to fall over. I'm going to pass out. And I'm getting really lightheaded. And I told myself, this is just my anxiety. I'm not actually going to fall over. I'm just feeling anxiety. And I overcame it. And I had this new sense of almost like self-respect. I can overcome it. It's just a feeling. It's something that will pass. It's not going to last forever. And I can overcome my anxiety. And it doesn't matter if it suddenly makes me feel this way, because it's just based on this I'm sure that the reason why I feel like this panic here, is related to this event, because I think about it quite a lot. This caused a sort of trauma inside of me, in my mind. And every time I get high, I relive it. This moment, I relive it. This moment, I relive it. Just before here, I relive it. Here, I relive it. And it's because I've never dealt with this. I've never overcome it. The only way I can overcome it is by feeling that anxiety, triumphing over it, and knowing that it's something I can overcome and is in the past. And I know this is completely off tangent now. It's got nothing to do with IBD. It's got everything to do with weed and anxiety. But I've just got to say that if you had an experience like this, it can make you relive it. So I think it's really important, if you do want to use it as a medicine, to know these things. Know that it can bring up troublesome memories, and it might be your time to overcome them, learn to deal with these memories, and actually make yourself a happier, better, mentally resilient person. And overall, that's the message I want to give you, that it's a tool. You can use it to overcome your inner demons. You can use it to overcome your past experiences. You can use it to help you with your current experiences with IBD. And it is a medicine. Don't abuse it. This is a natural medicine that grows out in nature, and you can smoke it, eat it, vape it, whatever you want to do. You can put it on your skin. It has amazing properties to help you. But if you haven't resolved what's going on in here, it has amazing properties to harm you. So that's that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.